Hey everybody, happy Friday. I am celebrating the 1 year anniversary of my beginnings as a whetstone sharpener tonight by sharpening one of my Debas up. And this is only the second sharpening this blade has had since I restored it. It came to me very rolled, gouged up, badly sharpened, not in bad shape overall, but had been just horribly sharpened and the edge was badly rolled on both sides and all that. So I had to do a lot of grinding on this to restore reasonably good geometry. The ureoshi is regrettably wide now because of all the flattening I had to do back there, but it's still usable. It can be sharpened. At some point, when it starts to get a little too much, I will send this out and have somebody grind the urasaki back out slightly so that it's more appropriate. But anyway, I've had a few requests to further demonstrate my sharpening technique that I use for these Debas, and so I've already I spent a little time already roughing out the shape with a Shopton 220, and now I'm getting into the gradual polishing of the grit. So I have here a small chunk of Shopton 320, and I have a diamond plate over here. I just make a few swirls before I start, just to make sure that the contact area of the stone is flat, and get a little bit of slurry going, and here we go. So I put the knife on a nice sturdy board with towels wrapped around it for sturdiness, and to protect the blade, and also just to give me a little elevation so I can get in here with my stones and do what I need to do. And the Shopton 320 is really kind of an undersung hero of the Shopton family. I think it still cuts, but it's a very smooth polisher for its grit. And I read somewhere that they specifically designed this stone to be good for taking the scratch patterns out from the very aggressive 120 and 220 grit stones, and it does seem to do that very well. The the more time you spend grinding out your very, very coarse scratches, the better of a overall finish and polish you'll have down the road when you get into the finer polishing and really try to bring out that beautiful kasumi finish. This stone will kind of get it started. It's just muddy enough that it'll start giving a decent little contrast on between the steel and the iron cladding before you move on up. So this stone gives a good accounting for itself, and it's a very good intermediate step between coarser stones or diamond plates, diamond resin bonded diamond stones, or whatever else you're using at the very coarse level, and then getting into like your 1,000 grit level and starting to get into intermediate stones. So you can start to see the contrast coming out pretty nicely now, and just checking, make sure I've hit everything. It's pretty good. I'm gonna do a little more very low pressure polishing to get another good little slurry session going here. And usually for the final light polishing passes, I turn my little stone more sideways, and that just kind of enables it to get into all the little spots. Very light pressure now, just trying to refine the scratch pattern as much as I can before moving on. And a little bit more this way. Still very light pressure, just to get a little using that mud, which is just microscopic particles of the ceramic mixed with water and steel shavings. So the major shaping is done now. We're just polishing, and you know, you can get Debas very sharp without doing any of this. But I like my bevels to look nice. Alright. Let's see how this looks. Ultimately, if you get to a point, and again, you know, it's only the second time this blade has been sharpened since the full restoration, so I'm still ironing out some little geometric imperfections and stuff, which is why I began this sharpening session on as coarse a stone as I did. When I get to the point that I never again have to put a coarse stone on this blade, then gradually the polish will just get more and more beautiful and rich and deep over time. Okay, I'm going to move up to the Shapton 1000 grit. I'm going to always wash the coarser slurry off your flattening stones, so you're not just picking it back up and putting the same grit slurry back on your knife mixed with the new particles. Kind of defeats the purpose if you're trying to polish out the previous grit and you're still rubbing particles from the previous grit on your blade. And that holds true whether you're polishing a bevel, large bevel like this, or if you are just sharpening an edge. You know, it's the point of moving to a finer stone if you still have a bunch of mud from the last stone on the surface. Kind of defeats the purpose. Okay, so the Shapton 1000 is, as far as 1000 grit range stones go, is very much, it's a cutter and not so much a polisher. Nanawa, Suihiro, and many other 1000 grit range stones will give you a much finer polish at this stage than the Shapton. But the Shapton does not make a stone in this line of stones, does not make a stone between the 320 and the 1000, and so I think their philosophy was that the 1000 needs to be able to polish out the scratch pattern from the 320, and it does. But the Shapton 1500 behaves much more like a nice polishy 1000 grit stone-ish. And many sharpeners will either use only the 1500 grit, or they will do the 1000 and then jump to the 2000 before moving on. Whereas in many other lines of stones, you can jump straight from 1000 grit stone up to 4, 5, 6,000 no problem. But with Shapton, it's better to have a little intermediate step in there. Okay, got a little more work to do here. I'm not going to belabor this entire process on camera, but I kind of wanted to just a little more flattening. I kind of wanted to show the process, how I do it. So I may maybe finish up with this one and then finish the polishing off camera and then come back for the sharpening and show you guys how I do the sharpening, which is the in a more traditional manner. I could really do the sharpening this way too, but I generally once I get the geometry where I want, and then get the polished edge down very close to the apex, then I micro bevel. I always micro bevel my Debas because they kind of need the extra strength at the edge, and I found that when I do inevitably get the little tiny chips in the edge and stuff from hitting fish bones or whatever, that the chips generally rein themselves in and hold steady only in the micro bubble, and it makes them very easy to sharp out. And when your chips go way up into your edge, then you have a lot of work. When it's just at the very tiny micro bevel, then those chips are very, very easy to remove and have a razor sharp pure edge once again, which is the goal, obviously. So I kind of hope you're all able to kind of see what's going on here. I'm trying this camera angle out. Regrettably, I don't have a way to get the camera any closer to the knife, and my zoom function won't work in selfie mode, and that means this is the best I can do. But I think you all can kind of see. Whoops. I think you all can kind of see what's going on here. So I'm pretty happy what I got going right now. This is just nice black or dark gray black slurry. This is the best for polishing. This is the kind of look you want in your goop. And you just have to keep working the surface until you get this beautiful dark gray goop, and only add tiny bits of water as needed to keep the stone moving smoothly. This is what does your polishing. Otherwise you get like the shiny streaks, and we want this. Let this mud do the work. This is light pressure now. Like I said, this is not the most polishy of stones. Right now we're basically taking out the 320 scratches, and the real polishing will start to ramp up here over the course of the next few stones. Alright, let's have a look at this. You can see all that beautiful mud on there. Sometimes you have to rinse it off just to see how you're doing, and then you kind of have to start over again. But okay, this is starting to look pretty nice. There's still a little shininess up by the shinogi. It's just where the pressure hits and but the subsequent stones will cloud that up, and it'll be beautiful. But basically, pretty nice smooth surface now with minimal remaining scratching from the previous grits. So I'm fairly happy with that at the moment, coming off the Shopton 1000. So I'm going to set it aside, and let's see here. Okay, I haven't been at this too long, so let me rinse. So I'll go ahead and do the 1500, and the 1500 will really show the polish starting to come out. And the Shopton, in all their wisdom, has made the 1500 a color that is confusingly very similar to the 320, which means when I'm picking up, I have to keep them like in a specific spot, and the 320 is slightly darker in color, but they're close enough that you could accidentally grab the wrong one. So this needs a little more flattening. I've got a coarser. When I find one of my little chunks that's a little more dished, I have this cheapo 80 grit diamond plate wafer thing here, which is not good for too much, but it is good for flattening small chunks of stone on. So I keep it around. And now get this nice and flat. Okay, now it's flattened, and then back on the much finer diamond plate to repolish the surface a little. I've got a nice slurry on there. So this is now the Shopton 1500 flattened, lapped, and then the surface polished on my finest diamond plates so that there are no aggressive jags in the surface to catch and ruin what I'm trying to do here. And those of you who use very coarse diamond plates like the Atoma 140 to flatten your stones, it's a fantastic tool for the job. But if you want your stone to be polishy, I do recommend, after you get it flat, I recommend taking an appropriate Nagura or some other much finer flattening tool and polishing and conditioning the surface of your stone before you sharpen on it. If it's supposed to be a smooth polishing stone, then make sure that the surface of it is indeed very smooth and slick. Alright, I'm going to do a little sideways here. Very light pressure. Just want to make sure it's hitting as close. I'm hitting a little on my towel there. Okay. Very light pressure, just riding that slurry. Starting to get this grit brings out a little more mirror in the soft iron, in both the steel and the iron. But then usually when I move on to 3,000 to 5,000 grit is when that beautiful dark haze starts to come back, except when it comes back it's smooth and solid because most of the visible scratching has been removed from it. If I went on with this stone long enough and just kept more and more slurry and just kept light pressure and going, it would ultimately get fairly close in polished appearance to like a 2,000 to 3,000. But I have those, so there's no reason, kind of belaboring the point on this tool when I have other tools. So let's have a look at this. Oh yeah, it's looking pretty nice. There's some little bits of shine in there that are not optimum. Actually, down here by the tip, I'm getting extremely, very beautiful polish here. This area of the blade right here is just exquisite already. Really looks better than a factory polish that I've seen on many brand new single bevel knives. And then a little shiny streak up here by the Shinogi. Not too worried about it. I think when I put the 3000 on here, it's gonna take it out. But if not, I may have to backtrack. All right, so that's kind of how I do it, and everything beyond here is basically a lot more of the same, using finer and finer stones and Naguras until I get exactly the polish that I want. But this is looking pretty nice so far, and the geometry is perfect, and there are none of these weird wavy blemishes in the finish that you often see on Debas because of trying to put the complex geometry on a large flat stone to sharpen, and the virtual impossibility of blending all those little angle changes and stuff together perfectly. So that's what my little stone technique is, exactly for the purpose of eliminating that as a problem. Okay, so I'm gonna sign off for now. I'm gonna do some more polishing, and once I have the polishing done, I will come back and show the actual sharpening part, and then we'll test and see how I did. So, all right, see you in a bit. Bye.